back to that. What's wrong around here is represented in all the things we listed. Genocide, war, poverty, politics, adultery, capital punishment, mean people, stealing, abuse, whatever. God agrees that those things are wrong. They're not what God has in mind. But they are not what at bottom is really wrong in the world. What's really wrong in the world is that the world wants to be in charge of deciding what's wrong. And doesn't want God to be in charge of it. And the world is wrong about what's wrong. But what's wrong in the world is the world didn't believe in the one and only Son, come from the Father. And before Jesus came, what was wrong in the world is summed up in Genesis chapter 3. We wanted to be God and ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The tree of knowing what's wrong. See? That's what it is about that tree. We aren't supposed to eat from that tree because it isn't our tree. God's job is the job of knowing good and evil. God who made us knows what gives us life and what wrecks it, what builds up relationships and what tears them apart. That's God's job. It's God's job to know how human beings ought to live together in community. It's not our job to figure that out. The Creator figured that out. Our job is to believe that the Creator knew what the heck He was doing. And to quit trying to take the Creator's job away. And do it better. Or at least do it our way because we like that way better. The world is wrong about what's wrong. What's wrong is we want the Creator's job. And when the one for whom the universe was created, through whom it was created, comes in the flesh, and we hate Him, that's what's wrong around here. When we see in the living flesh of Jesus how we were meant to relate to the Father, how we were meant to relate to each other, how we were meant to relate to the world, when we see that in the flesh and hate it, that's what's wrong around here. No wonder this place stinks sometimes. No wonder this place is full of so much violence. If you were in the first service, you heard it. If you go to the next, you'll hear a little report from our people who came back from Zambia. Or from, no, it's not right, Swaziland. And you will hear a litany of children and what happened to them before the church rescued them. This one was found in a dumpster. This one was found on the street. This one was covered with bruises and marks all over his body. Horrible things happen in the world, and it is the result of us deciding we'll be in charge of what's good and what's bad. So the world is wrong about what's wrong. To disbelieve in the Son is to disbelieve in the Father who sent Him, and that's what's really wrong. Now, Jesus, and then the world is wrong about what's wrong. The world's wrong about what's right. To put it really simply, the one right thing in all the world was Jesus. Not exactly, that's not quite the same as saying Jesus' teaching. They were right too. But they were right because they came from Him. Jesus, in His person, is the one right thing in all of creation. Not an idea, not a concept, not a body of teaching. Person. If you want to get through to postmoderns, do that. If you want to teach moderns something that matters, teach them that. Jesus is the one right thing, partly because He is the incarnation, the enfleshment of the one by whom, for whom, through whom it was all created. But he is also the one right thing in all of creation because he always did what his Father wanted done. Now, you can say Jesus was sinless, and that's also true. But I don't think it's quite as useful. It's more useful to put it positively. Jesus, every single time, did what the Father wanted done. Sometimes people have asked me, high school kids like to ask this, did Jesus ever get the flu? We aren't told. My guess is he sure did. He was a human being. Did he ever stub his toe and, really ugly and it bled real bad and, yeah, but probably that happened too, but we aren't told, do you ever get a fever? Did he sweat and smell bad? Humans do that. Jesus is the one right thing in all of creation because he always did his Father's will. And to believe in Jesus is to believe in the one who sent him. And to finally see the universe and our relationships correctly. So, the Holy Spirit will come and convict the world that it's wrong about what's wrong, and that it's wrong about what's right. What's right in the world is not human virtue. It's good to be loving. It's good to give something back. It's the kind of the lovely middle class phrase in America today. It's good to pay it forward. All those are good, lovely things. But the one really right, good thing is Jesus. In fact, everything in all the cosmos and every person, every word, every relationship, every phrase, every act in all the cosmos is measured against Jesus. That's how you tell whether it was good or bad, beautiful or ugly, life-giving or life-wrecking. He is the measure of all things. He is, despite the fact that, the Western civilization, caught Jesus all up, and in one of the most lovely paintings that decorated churches for generations, the beautiful picture of Jesus praying in the garden at the rock, blonde and blue eyes, and just, American as all heck and God, Well, of course we painted Jesus that way. He came to rescue us. He wanted to make sure we identified with him. In Korea, he looks really Korean. That's really good. So he is with us in the flesh. But the one really right thing is Jesus. So the hard thing is, you see, the world cannot admit that Jesus is the one right thing without admitting it needs to change. That's the problem. Wouldn't mind assenting to a concept. But to cave in to a person whose origin is outside of creation. In fact, all the creation originates in him. To admit that he's that, you can't admit that without admitting you need to change. Without admitting that you're accountable. Without admitting that there is a measure for your behavior, for your words, for how we conduct our relationships. We take out a tape measure. Is this thing 3 inches long or 2 inches long? Well, let's take out the tape measure. That tells us about inches. If you really, really, really need to know, I think it's in Washington, D.C., who knows where else it is, you can measure it down to the angstroms. So, he is the measure. No, that life thinks it's 3 inches long. It's really about 1.25 inches. That behavior, you thought that behavior was really good. You liked the way you conducted that relationship. Well, this is what I had in mind. This is the way marriage was supposed to look. This is the way church is supposed to look. Okay.